Hello, hello, and welcome to the show. It's pretty simple. We're three friends who love TV shows. We pick a show to watch every month, and we get together here to talk about it together. Welcome to episode 46. Here we'll be discussing the 2013 MTV original comedy series created by Bo Burnham. People love being saved. That's why Jesus rose to stardom so quickly. Today on the show, Zach Stone is gonna be famous. I want to welcome you inside the broadcast booth. I am Jay. I'm joined today by my two Hall of Famers. I got Aaron and Tony. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello,
Howdy
hello.
do.
We've got a great show for you today. But first, check out our social media for news about the show, including our currently postponed 2022 tour and cruise, along with plenty of bonus content. You can find that at the Show Pod. You want to send us an email? You can find us at the Show TV podcast at gmail.com. Check out our YouTube channel. That's Mandamus Radio, if you're not there already. You can find me individually online at jsuesponte. Aaron, where can we find you?
At Tenacious Aaron on Twitter, rarely, but sometimes I'm there.
And Tony?
You can find me on Instagram at tpinquite.
For those of you on the live stream, we might be taking calls later on the show if there's time, so get those calls lined up with our producer. You can call 888-787-1310. That's 888-787-1310. Looking forward to hearing from you. Before we get to the show and before the unofficial scoreboard, we've got a little bit of news for the world out there. For anybody paying attention at home, we are going to be approaching 50 episodes pretty soon. And
Exciting.
yeah. And in order to celebrate such a thing, we decided to take on a little bit of an extra project. We are going to be reviewing the classic 1990s to 2010s David Lynch series Twin Peaks.
Cult classic. Twin Peaks.
Very excited. We're going to be doing it in its entirety. Old series, new series, movie in the middle. We're going to be talking about it, and I'm very excited.
I have chills. I am so excited. This is one of my favorite pieces of art. Like, I have to frame it in that because it is a TV show. It is like starts out as network television, but ultimately it is one of the most interesting and compelling pieces of art I have ever experienced. And I have wanted to hear what my two co-hosts' opinion are on this subject for a while. So I'm thoroughly excited to take this journey with you guys.
Man, I'm pretty excited myself. Tony, do you have any experience with Twin Peaks before?
I do not. I'm excited. I know it's referenced a ton in other popular culture. So I know specifically there's like a psych episode that parodies Twin Peaks, I think, with some of the original cast. But I'm excited to see the original series and the new series and everything.
There are a lot. There are a lot of pop culture references out there. I think actually there's a couple in Psych because I've watched Psych 2, and like the main character in Twin Peaks is Dale Cooper, and we were watching Psych the other day, and randomly like one of the witnesses was someone named Dale Cooper, and I was like, little breadcrumbs in there.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that because I watched the pilot episodes over the last couple days after we decided to make this decision here, and it felt like when I watched The Godfather for the first time about like only 2 or 3 years ago, and it's that moment where it's like, oh, okay, now I understand what like those references were too. It all kind of clicked a little bit for me.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about watching that. So that's going to be a few months down the road. So be looking for that for our 50th grand spectacular special. Before we get, I'm sorry.
Just for those who want to watch along, that's season 1, season 2, the movie Fire Walk with Me, and then The Return. So just to kind of sum it all up for everyone.
Very excited for anybody who's listening along with us contemporaneously. The original series is on Paramount Plus. That's where you can find it at the moment. So today we're going to be talking about Zach Stone is going to be famous. Before we get to that, I did want to take a quick journey over to our unofficial scoreboard. Tony, any offerings for the unofficial scoreboard tonight?
Well, I did watch. I think last week I nominated Hawkeye as for the show that didn't quite please the gods on the Wheel of Randomonium, but
It
I
was
watched that. It
smoked.
was okay. I wouldn't say it was great, but I think it was pretty entertaining. It's like a little Christmassy special movie. So okay, I'd give it like a mid-tier rating. On the anime side, I don't know if y'all watched the first season of Demon Slayer, or they kind of had like a little mini arc that was like they came in with a movie. They did a little mini arc, a 7-episode mini arc. But this newest, like season 2, I guess is what I would call it, has been excellent so far. So if anybody's been watching that and they've seen only the first season, definitely pick it up with the second season.
It's on my to-do list for sure.
I'd rate that very
How about-
high, like 8 or 9 out of 10 so far.
Okay.
Only been like 7 or 8 episodes, I think.
How about you, Aaron?
So, while we were sick, Christy started watching Midnight Mass. It was actually kind of funny because, like, at first I wasn't watching it with her. Like, she watched like the first episode, and I was like sorting magic cards or something, kind of off in the background. And as kind of the episode unfolded, I started getting more and more interested in it. And then, like by episode 3, like I was hooked. Like I couldn't stop watching. So, very, very compelling, very good storytelling. It really is one of those things where, like, they say that some of the best storytelling left in cinema is in horror. They did a great job, and it really is a unique take on an old trope. So, would recommend 8 out of 10. A lot of fun, one season, short and sweet story, one and done. We also watched a sitcom called The Neighbors, which is like a Jersey family moving to a neighborhood filled with aliens. And it's like, mindless shitcom is how I would describe it, like a 6 out of 10 shitcom, but it definitely gets more and more grating as it goes on. So it goes from like a 6 to like a 5 or a 4 as it gets into the second season. So that's what we've been watching.
Oh man, my mind went somewhere different when you said The Neighbors. It went to this current CBS sitcom called The Neighborhood, which I've never
Schmidt?
watched. But yeah, it's got Schmidt from New Girl basically as the gentrifier moving into, I think, Cedric the Entertainer's neighborhood, and it
Really?
looks like the definition of just peak CBS, just turd on a platter served straight to the retirement home. And when you said, "Oh, I've been watching The Neighborhood," I thought, no, like, man, I know you watch Melissa and Joey and stuff, but you're not watching The Neighborhood.
Melissa and Joey is a quality shitcom. I would give it at least a solid 6. Mindless, doesn't have to worry about any type of anything. I am unashamed by my enjoyment of shitcoms.
Well, thank you for those offerings to the unofficial scoreboard, Aaron.
What about you?
I got a couple today. One TV show which is it's available on Hulu. It's a British sitcom. It's only 6 episodes. Quick little show. It's called Bloods. It's about paramedics in London. Funny little show. Really enjoyed it. Anybody, if you like British humor, I'd especially check it out. Something else I'd like to complain about briefly, guys, if you'll indulge me, is the Assassin's Creed franchise of video games. I'll admit the first one I ever played was the Greek one, Odyssey. That was right. Not the current one, but the most previous one. Had a lot of fun.
Good.
Had a lot of fun playing it. The whole like Sparta versus Athens thing, that seemed kind of unique and fun. So recently there was a bundle where you could buy Origins, which was the one before that, along with Valhalla, which is the current one, for half off. So I was like, sure, let's do it. And I guess my problem was I'd never played a second Assassin's Creed game before, because it's just all the same shit again, right?
Yeah,
it's like the buildings are all the same. It's just the dressing has changed, where instead of being in Egypt, now we're in the Norse lands. I was very disappointed.
I think that the thing that I remember, because I played the very first one, and I remember the big selling point was like they redid like 13th century Jerusalem like almost exactly. And so like you got to run around Jerusalem. But yeah, like there was like 7 or 8 variations of the same quest. You just did that over and over, jump into a hay bale, run over here, assassinate these 5 people, jump over here to take these 6 things, run over here, kill these 6 people. Yeah, like that is kind of the game.
Yeah. And I will admit though, the current one, Valhalla, where you're a Viking, it's at least in the beginning, it's a little more just like bludgeoning people and a little less like sneaking around, and that's right up my alley in video game like space.
You
So,
like the hack and slash?
I'm not a excuse me, that was a gross sound. Um, I'm not a sophisticated gamer. Like, for example, in first-person shooters, I love GoldenEye, where you just run around. I don't really like once you get to the point where you have to like duck behind cover.
Mm. So you like a more straightforward game?
Very much. I think video games kind of peaked around like Super Mario 64.
Platformers. You like platformers?
Oh, definitely, most definitely.
I will say, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. These newer Assassin's Creed games, I think, are pretty different to the way this franchise started, because it's pretty old. Like back when we all would have been in early high school, I think, and I think those are more like stealth assassination games. Like you had to blend in with crowds, and you had to sneak around and pretty much one-shot everybody. Versus, I think, starting with that Origins, where it's in Egypt, it became like an open world. And you're not, I think there's still assassination techniques, but now you're like fighting more, and your assassinations aren't like one hit killing everybody. It's more like an RPG style.
Yeah, in Odyssey, don't you like put talent points into shit to make you better at certain things?
Yeah, there's like a skill tree and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I remember about Odyssey. It's like me and Adam did it. Like we played through the entire thing all the way to the end of Odyssey. And then we got to like the DLC, and it really felt lackluster. Like whenever because it was kind of like we built to a certain point. It's like, oh, by the way, like some more cults showed up. Oh
yeah, it's like you could like open up a portal to Atlantis, and it was just like a bunch of fish. Like,
so I don't know. I haven't really been interested in any. It's been hard lately for me to find new games that I'm really interested in. I played through the Halo games with a buddy, but then they screwed up the new Halo and didn't make it co-op, which is mind-boggling to me. So I'll just stick with my comfort blankets.
Well, those are my offerings for the unofficial scoreboards. Let's get into our show for this week. Zach Stone is gonna be famous. This was an offering from me. And this is a show that I'd seen once before, a few years ago, back when it was only available on MTV's proprietary website, and you had to watch dumb ads to do it. But within the last 6 months or so, it resurfaced on Netflix, and I was really excited. So I was really excited to share this show with you guys, and I'm excited to talk about it. Our basic premise is pretty simple. It's a 18-year-old graduating from high school who has decided to spend his life savings on hiring a camera crew to follow his everyday life in anticipation of his imminent fame, even though he has no ostensible talents. And so we follow his relationships with his family, some of his friends, with some of the other people in the town who try to use him, and how he tries to use them. And eventually we find out how Zach handles fame right at the end. So I'm excited to get into it with you guys.
I'm ready.
I will say this. I want to preface this. I am not a huge fan of stand-up. Like, if it's on and it's funny, that's great. But I do not seek out stand-up as a format of entertainment that I like. I like this type of storytelling, like with this kind of making the stand-up into a story that's a lot more palatable. but I will say that Bo Burnham kind of grates me a little bit. So I laughed quite a few times throughout the series, but it felt very much like I was watching, and it may be because it is like not 2012 anymore, but it just felt like I was watching a very much like a D-list TV show on YouTube.
Yeah, I have to apologize, Aaron. I like pathologically forget that you hate cringe comedy, and I understand that you can appreciate it, but it's something that you dislike, as I think we all heard you talk about in the open. So, apologies for 12 episodes of cringe.
It honestly, like there's just like certain moments in episodes that like it was so bad that I like walked into the other room and had to like watch it through the pictures on the wall. But it like I would say like 70% of it was fine. Like fine. It was like just kind of like a haha or funny. But there were some moments. There were some moments that really I just was like, like make as much noise as possible so maybe drown out how awkward it is in the room. But I it did fall into a little bit of a formula for a few episodes. And it got a little bit, I guess, tropey, but I guess it's MTV. What can you expect? But I thought it was a very interesting endeavor. That's how I'll kind of start off the discussion.
I'm definitely on that end of the spectrum too. I just need, it's like the first season of Succession, except worse. I think there was just not enough like pressure releases on the cringe. So I think we can tell how my final grade's gonna be, but I just needed some more. Like I just had a lot of points of the show. I'm just like, how? Like one, I either couldn't see how in the span of hiring this TV crew, this guy had changed so much to have the friends he does, or I couldn't see how these people were still friends with him after the way he treats them. I'm just like, he has redeeming moments throughout the show, but they just weren't enough for me to like get over it.
He was too narcissistic for them to feel genuine too. Like any time that he would, I guess, like every time that he would have like a moment where it would almost feel like he's learning a lesson or he's being empathetic or he's being real, he would then stomp all over that in the next moment right after, as if to. And again, I looked at some of the kind of like commentary about this from the time, and of course MTV has kind of peddled this you can be famous and reality star like bullshit, which is horrible in and of itself. So this show is, I guess, kind of a critique or commentary on that part of our culture, but at the same time it it doesn't feel like anyone learns a lesson, right? Like even at the end of the show, spoilers, Zach Stone's going to be famous. He gets all the girls wanting his signature, and you see him smile and start to sing, and you look in Amy's face, and it's like she just made the biggest mistake of her life. Like it didn't. I don't know. Like, is it? What do you think, Tony? Like, it didn't have that payout. It felt like he'd still got away with being a shitty person.
Yeah, like he didn't. That's what I'm saying. Is like, I can't see the image that they would have had to have seen before he became like horrible for the show. It like literally made me feel bad. I think I binged the first 4 or 5 episodes. I think right after it won the coveted Wheel of Randemonium prize, and I was like, I just can't. I'm gonna have to binge it, and that's what I did actually this morning. And then like after I was done, I just felt like not sick, but just bad. Like I just felt bad after watching it. Like sad for all the. I mean, I know they're not real characters, but I'm just like, man, just like how can they put up with this crap? And then just like I wanted Zach Stone to be like redeemed, but then like right at the end, he just you can tell it's not going to make a difference.
And perhaps that's the social commentary that our society rewards horrible people for being horrible, and they don't learn the lesson because they're continually rewarded for awful things. And I guess like that's super meta, but it's not super fun to watch, I guess.
Well, I think it is.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Jim. I would say I think it did. Like the first half was a lot more like hardcore cringe. In the second half, I feel like they really toned it down. Maybe once they got rid of the whole hot girl plot, I think it kind of evened out to a better balance.
Wow.
I don't know. The ones that I was leaving the room were at the end. Like I was struggling.
I was going to say it is somewhat disingenuous for Bo Burnham, who is a creation of the YouTube snake pit, to come and teach us nobodies a lesson about how destructive it is to want fame. So, starting from that point, definitely. Now for I felt like the back half of the show kind of dragged, and they seemed to lean a little too hard onto the storyline between Zach, Amy, and Nick. And I found myself wanting a little bit more of the stories with the
younger brother.
The hot girl, who I can't remember her name, because I think there was a lot of, I think there was maybe a little bit more to say through her about society and its relationship to fame.
But see, like if you look at this, like they did the makeover, sex tape, Girls Gone Wild, Celebrity Chef, Bachelor. Like every single episode is just a pop culture trope, right? Like that's one of the things why it's like this feels more like a YouTube show, is that I could see all of these being a clever, funny YouTube thing for the quality that it was. I guess I can't. I don't know. Is Siesta Keys on MTV also? Because I'm trying to gauge like quality level. Like like Siesta Keys had more money. It felt like than this at times. But I don't know. Like it's. I told Chrissy, like we were watching it, and I was like, there are moments where I'm laughing, like some of the jokes. Whenever he said, like a poor man's Andrew Garfield when describing his brother, like I busted out laughing at some of the stand-up jokes. Like they were fun. But
his relationship with his family is something I really love about this show, because the relationship to the dad, where the dad doesn't believe in the dream but eventually softens and reveals that he sees more in Zach and himself than he previously realized, but especially the relationship between Zach and his little brother, that felt so true to life. Because I know you guys have siblings, right?
Yeah, no, picking on your younger sibling is a big part of real life.
Yeah, not, for all the negative I've said, I thought all of the acting, I thought all the actors and actresses were great. The parents, I loved Biff.
Yep.
Yes.
I thought everyone, I mean, Amy and Greg, his friends, I thought they did an excellent job too. So I thought in the acting and then like the comedy, like it's rapid fire. Like I caught myself, when you hear someone say something to you and your brain's like taking a 3-second break before it processes what happens. I found myself that like catching the jokes after they'd happened and laughing after the fact, but I was sidetracked by some cringe, I think, in moments that made me miss a lot of the humor. But I think everything was top quality. The humor was top quality, the acting, production value, that was all good.
I thought the incorporation of the camera crew at times hilarious. That's whenever you do a mockumentary show, if you can include the camera crew, that's something that's going to tickle me so much. One of my favorite shows, Trailer Park Boys, some of my favorite bits of that show was when the camera crew would like get shot during the shenanigans and then have to take him to the hospital and stuff like that.
Dude, in Trailer Park Boys Countdown to Liquor Day, when like the camera crew is like involved in the car chase.
Yes. Me. I love that. And I love that you actually a little bit got to see the relationship between him and the camera crew grow to the point that at the end, they're almost kind of trying to protect him from some things. They're sensing when he's going to be vulnerable at others. I really enjoyed that dynamic.
I will say I like the parts where he would like call cut, be real for a moment, and then try and go back into it. Like those were little things that I did appreciate about the show.
Yeah.
And again, Bo Burnham is creative. I think that he's very witty. I think that a lot of his commentary is good. my problem is that kind of like what you said, like how dare you YouTube fame seeker come telling the poor man, how terrible fame is.
Mhm.
Like it kind of feels like disingenuous to a point. It's like whenever rich people are like, "Oh, money won't solve your problems." Yeah, it ain't gonna make them worse though.
Mhm. How about the theme song each time?
It's good. I like that part. It got cut in my head every week.
Yeah, I love when there was different versions of it, like the little Halloween in August episode. That was a pretty good one. And the hero one, that was good too. He just
Do you,
knocking food out of people's mouths and hands.
Jay? I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Do you know who the co-creator of the show was?
Oh, no.
Dan Lagana,
Okay.
best known for Zack Stone's Gonna Be Famous and the showrunner for American Vandal.
Oh, okay. You know what? I can see a lot of that kind of that humor DNA in both of those shows.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it kind of made sense after I read that. He got his start on Malcolm in the Middle. That's really interesting.
Quick sidebar, Aaron, have you ever watched a show called Vexed? It's a British cop comedy show.
Say the name again.
It's called Vexed, Vexed.
No, I have not.
I was curious because it's created by the same person who created Future Man,
Oh,
and I was like, I enjoyed Future Man quite a lot. And that's actually kind of how I got to Bloods, the show that I mentioned for the unofficial wheel, because one of the stars of that show is also in Vexed, actress by the name of Lucy Punch. She had a tiny, tiny bit in Hot Fuzz. But yeah, so maybe sometime
yeah,
in
I
the future, if you're
recognize
looking for
her.
Vexed.
I recognize her from Hot Fuzz. Me and Christy started like the first 5 seconds of Bloods, and whenever the guy was getting like the panels on the his friend, she was like, "I'm done with the show."
Okay, fair. She doesn't do medical crisis.
No, I think it's too much slapstick for her. She's not a big slapstick person.
Oh,
I
okay.
love slapstick. I will probably go back and watch it, but she does not appreciate slapstick.
Well, fair enough. Well, back to Zach Stone. I think as a television viewer, I assign a disproportionate amount of judgment about a show based on its opening credits bit.
Mm.
I like a good opening credits bit, and when a show doesn't have it, sometimes I excuse it and sometimes I don't. And this show, I thought every time, the way that they can change it, it made me laugh, loved it. That's always a big positive in my book for a show.
Yeah, no, and any time that a show can take its intro and make it unique for each one, that's always fun too.
Like last week, talking about The Witcher, talking about how it needed a map like Game of Thrones. I think something that The Witcher could have really benefited from, in my subjective view, is I think if the intro could have been a little bit better. If you gave us some music to hum that's going to stick with me, like the Game of Thrones theme, or Zack Stone is gonna be famous. Like that's something that would have helped this guy. That was a weird way to end that sentence.
So the Christie girl, that was the hot girl in the beginning, right? That y'all were talking about.
Yes.
What do you think that, because you said that you wish that they had kind of explored some more through her and not so much leaned into the Amy storyline? What would you have rather them kind of explored with this? Because this really is just a vehicle to look at some social commentary about pop culture, right? It's not really telling a real story or anything like that. So what is something that you wish that they would have addressed better?
That's a good question. Maybe it's more that I just wanted less Amy, maybe, and not necessarily more Christy.
You didn't like the girl next door storyline?
I mean, I did and I didn't. I think one big criticism I'll have is Bo Burnham's performance himself. I think one big way to improve the show is to recast Zach Stone. But the story with Amy, I'm not sure I really buy it. I think that, there's of course, there's plenty of examples of, especially when you're 18, having a best friend of the opposite sex who you have secret feelings for. But if Zach is as unsuccessful in love as we are led to believe, and if I guess we don't really get any much information about Amy's love life apart from her relationship with Nick. But basically, I don't buy that they wouldn't have revealed their feelings for each other sooner. So I was never really rooting for them to get together.
So like Greg, like you were like Greg. Greg was like, you like Amy like this whole time?
Yeah, loved Greg, by the way.
Yeah, everyone's so sweet. It's just like, I know I've said it several times, just like I can't believe they would not have like a stern talk with their friend if he was like great before this all started.
Or they would have just blown him off all the time because he's so outrageous, right? Like if you were gonna stay friends with someone like this, you'd be like, oh, that's just Zach. He's outrageous.
Yeah. They forgave him way too easily, like especially Greg.
And his mom. His mom forgave him way too easily.
Yeah.
That was one thing Christy was so pissed about. She's like, he does not deserve forgiveness. Like he has not repented enough.
Yeah, that moment in the finale where the father says to her, "We need to start making decisions that benefit all of us, not just Zach." Like that was a pretty powerful moment.
Yeah.
I think one part I didn't like is like for most of the show he was just kind of like not mean or violent, but then like towards the end they kind of made him like not violent, but like he just straight up putted the crap out of that gnome. And then when he's doing the audition for the student production movie, he just like smashes a plate on the table. Like they made him like really have strong outbursts, and like he was really big jerk to Amy when he kind of like, I mean, I know he was lashing out, but like I liked it better when like at the beginning he'd lash out, but he'd just be like, well, yeah, well, you're like a stupid doo-doo head or something like that, like something lame because he's a lame guy. Like I like that more, like that kind of lashing out more than like the kind of like extreme that he kind of became at the end.
Yeah, he could be really like needlessly hurtful, and something that I didn't like about the show, specifically about Bo Burnham's performance, was that whenever it came time for the apology and it was, him in quotes being real, that he put on this affect every single time where it was like, all right, now I'm gonna be real now. And
hey, I want to apologize.
And like, yeah, he got into this cadence where he'd kind of stutter his words a little bit and be a little unsure of what he was about to say. But I didn't buy it as an actor. I think that for young creatives, it's a really common trap to fall into, to try and paint yourself into the biggest role. And, I think Bo Burnham made that mistake in this show.
I think that's a good analysis. I think that he may have a better job writing than acting because of how over the top. Now, at the same time, if he's trying to give a commentary on how cruel people who seek, celebrity at all cost are and can be, then I can understand that. I think that, and maybe people are over forgiving. Maybe that's also part of his own experiences, is seeing how cruel he can be to other people and they still tolerate it. Look at like one of the things that like while I was watching this, I kept thinking of, and maybe I'm weird, but do you remember the Bam Margera show, Viva La Bam? And just how much absolute hell and brimstone and shit fire that Bam Margera put his family through for TV, and they just kind of took it and yelled and screamed and got paid. So to some extent, like if you look at the pure social commentary value, the pure cultural commentary value of this show, I think that he hits a lot of things that are probably true. I think that he nails a lot of concepts, but it's kind of like looking like seeing beyond the looking glass or looking behind the curtain, like that burst the fantasy bubble of like television or of Hollywood or of celebrity, and maybe that's his point, is to burst that bubble. But people don't want their sacred cows sacrificed, right? They don't
Nope.
want their illusions destroyed.
Mm.
So in a certain sense, it falls flat because that's exactly what he's, I guess, trying to do, is to show you how cruel people who seek fame really are, and how they're not heroes, they're not who you should look up to, and in doing so, he creates this shitty character that goes through this shitty storyline that you watch. So I mean, to me, I think that's the best way I could hash out this show, um, for the most value. But what do you guys think?
I liked Bo Burnham in the role. I thought he did a good job, but I think that's because I'm coming off of. I think I recommended that Netflix special Inside that he did, where he kind of just like locked himself in a small house for I don't even know how long. It might have been a whole year to make a little comedy special, and I thought that was pretty like amazing. I'd definitely recommend that. So maybe I'm high on my opinion of him coming off of that, but I thought he did well in the show. Like I thought he did a good job of going from like manic to serious. Uh,
Well, Tony, have you watched his other earlier comedy specials?
I have not. I've only just seen like song clips on YouTube, and I thought those were always pretty funny. But I haven't actually watched a stand-up special or any other TV shows with him in them.
Okay. Well, that I mean, if you've seen the songs, that's basically it. But like I'm a big fan of Bo Burnham in general, and I am a big fan of stand up. But what he did in his earlier shows, and I guess also continuing with Inside, is he subverts a lot of your expectations. It's never quite what you think it's going to be. It's not traditional stand up, and it's something I really enjoyed. But if I if I were to sit down and look at the track list of the bits or the songs that he does, he probably only really hits about 50-50 for me, because there's a lot of stuff in there where I'm like, this is just weird, and I almost Aaron like have to go into the other room and watch it through the reflections on the portraits. So this sitcom, for me, his hit rate on making me laugh is a lot higher than his stand up. But it's just a reminder for me that sometimes even with the stuff that I like a lot, like Seinfeld, it can be kind of hit or miss.
Yeah,
There are good and bad episodes of everything in fandom, right? Like there are universally loved and hated episodes of Star Trek.
Oh, absolutely. Now, one thing I wanted to draw attention to was, I think the character's name was Nick, the other guy, the personal trainer who dated Amy. That actor also played in Upload, which is
Yeah,
another show that we watched earlier.
yeah, Christy pointed that out. I was like, oh, it is. He's so young here.
And I thought maybe it's just that he didn't have a very big part here, or that he was much younger, or what. But I thought his performance was 1,000 times more believable in this than in Upload. I thought he was terrible in that show.
Uh, I don't remember being terrible, but I do remember feeling like he looked a lot smaller in this show.
Yeah, that's true.
I liked him. I guess my ideal version of this show would just be like, well, obviously step down the cringe a bit, but everything could be almost the same, but have Zach grow a little bit. But I guess if y'all are saying like it was supposed to be some sort of social commentary, like I just took it at face value. It was just supposed to be a funny show. And I think I would have liked it better if he would have grown, like even if it was very slightly. Like what if the episode where he wants to get buff or whatever, like maybe he starts going to the gym and his lesson is like he starts not exercising all the time, but starts taking a little bit better care of himself. And you see that carry on, or he eats a little bit healthier through the show or something like that. And then like
We want our protagonist to evolve, to become
yeah,
better.
like as he goes, maybe he like discovers that he's good at editing or directing, and like by the end of the show, that's what he does. He wants to go to like college for film school or something, and he has this whole experience made him good at that, and that's how he like ultimately is going to be famous or something. Like I would have liked a character arc, I guess, basically, but there was no progress. I thought there was, and then the very last 10 seconds kind of erased everything.
All of it.
Well, let me ask you, at the end there, before they leave the television station, where Amy has come back to Zach and they profess their love for each other, and Zach says something along the lines of, "I don't need fame, I just need you." So at that moment, are you guys rooting for them to be together and Zach to to forget about fame?
I am.
I'm honestly not rooting for anything. I'm just watching it happen.
Okay, because me, I guess I was really
Christy
focused.
was like, he doesn't deserve her. She should not be
Yes.
doing this.
Yes, I was rooting against them being together. I was thinking, man, if because I couldn't, I'm kind of an amnesiac about plots about shows. Once I finish it, I couldn't really tell you, which is why so many times I need you guys to tell me about what happened. But I couldn't remember what happened rewatching this show. So when we get right down to the end, I'm kind of in my mind booing it, thinking, man, I don't want this to end with the lesson being, oh, you just need the girl. So I thought that the fact that they turned it back around on you, and like Aaron described, we zoom in on Amy's face, realizing her mistake. I thought that was a perfect ending to the story.
I can't disagree. Like it leaves you asking the question: was this just another scheme? Is this just how the world works? Zach clearly didn't learn any lessons. So I think that that's probably one of those things. It's the same thing why I struggle with Succession is shitty people not necessarily getting their comeuppance, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's why I like Sunny in Philadelphia. Is yeah, they're shitty people, but they get their comeuppance all the time. Like nothing ever actually works out at the end.
True.
So they don't get away with it. It feels like Bo Burnham or Zach got away with it in the end.
I think they may
So
have had to. Oh, go ahead, Jay.
no, go ahead.
I think they may have had to speed up some certain storylines. Like, no, it's only I think 13 episodes is how
12.
long it is. But I read on, is it just 12?
Yes.
All right. I read online that they aired. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they aired.
Yes.
Like they had to move its time slot after like 5 or 6 episodes, and then they aired episodes 8 and 9 back to back in 1 week, and then like the next week they just unloaded the final 3 episodes.
Yeah,
So
I think
it
it
was sloppy.
bombed,
Yeah,
and they just burned it.
but I feel like maybe that's because Amy and the little love triangle thing, like that thing, just like all of a sudden, like Amy and Nick went from happy to like Amy's like, oh, he just doesn't get me, and she's ignoring his text, and like literally nothing happened from the episode before that to that part. I feel like they just had to fast forward a lot of plot lines, and maybe that's because they had already been told to wrap it up because the show was going away. So maybe that's why it felt laggy towards the end for you, Jay.
That's possible.
I I would like to say that I don't know. I wish I liked stand up better, and I wish I liked Bo Burnham better. Like I like a lot of his songs, but I think it's kind of like some of his stuff is so off putting. Like, and I guess that's maybe his goal. But I'm like, I don't know that I want to watch this right now. Like I've watched some of his music videos and like they're funny, but some of them become like really, really intense and weird, like you were saying, Jay.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you just trying to be shock value for shock value's sake? Like there's a certain element of that. When he's witty, he's on it, right? Like Welcome to the Internet, I thought was brilliant. Like one of the most
Mm-hmm.
interesting and well done songs about our culture and time right now.
Mm-hmm.
But then other songs, I'm just kind of like, I can believe it.
Like he does one where it's like the two sides of his brain singing to each other, and it goes on for way too long. It's very cringy and reveals a little bit too much about him to the audience, and you're like, can we just kind of can we move it along a little bit? Yeah, that's just kind of how it goes with him, unfortunately. I felt like Inside really could have benefited from an audience, because it felt like the fact that it was just him so isolated, that really increased the cringe for me, at least.
Why do you think cringe has become so relied upon as a comedic vehicle in modern comedy? Because like I rewatched Brooklyn Nine-Nine a few times, and there are some like minor moments, but like anytime that there's like anything really cringy, one of the things that I notice is that someone in the show calls out the cringe, and in doing so, it kind of dispels it. It's whenever it's just left there hanging that it really just is like it burns you, like in The Office, right? There's lots of times that it's just left hanging and hanging and hanging. Oh, Michael Scott's tots. When
When he kisses Oscar.
Yeah, like though that's the thing is like there's comedy there, but it feels like there's also like a desire to torture the audience and leaving the cringe as long as possible. So I don't know. I to me I feel like that's the cheap laugh, whereas now it becomes harder to craft comedy that doesn't rely on cringe, and I kind of am missing that formula.
Have you watched any of Tim Robinson's I Think You Should Leave?
I have not.
You probably shouldn't because it's like it's maybe peak cringe, and it's I think maybe to try and deconstruct it a little bit, cringe at its core is somebody in the situation is breaking the social contract and everybody else has to stand around and watch. So maybe it just taps into something in all of us being, what's the words, just the absurdity of modern life and all these dumbass rules that we all have to abide by, but we're somehow all better for. It's like Curb Your Enthusiasm is 12 seasons of that.
See, but here's the thing. Again, with Curb, there's cringe, but there's comeuppance. I think that that's why I can handle Curb a lot more. Is that at the end of the day, Larry David, it rarely works out for Larry David. He challenges the social rules, he steps all over them, he creates this awkward situation, and then it comes back to bite him in the ass. And it's almost like you get this kind of conversation between an individual pushing the boundaries of culture, society, or whatever, and then society and culture pushing back, right? Whereas I don't feel like you get that payoff. And maybe that's it. Maybe I'm looking for there to be a reason for the cringe or a being some part of something bigger. Whereas I feel like some people just like load it up with as much cringe and leave it. And then it's just like, it's just funny to cringe, right? That's what I feel like some of it is.
Okay.
So
No, I can 100% understand that, because I think I'm one of those people that doesn't look for that release, and so I still enjoy it without it. But I see what you're saying about how having that release of the tension allows it to be a little bit different.
it's cathartic. Like if you just build the cringe all the time, like it eventually gets to a point where it's just like, why am I watching this? If there's no release, if there's no kind of like if it just constantly builds up, it becomes so uncomfortable. I just can't look at it. Whereas other shows where they'll like pepper a little bit of cringe, like Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec definitely has some cringy moments, but there's a lot of payouts throughout that show on the cringe, right? Like there's a lot of turning it around, flipping it, things like that. So to me, there's absolutely a place for cringe in comedy. I think that it can be very funny. I can laugh at it, but I need it to tie into something. There needs to be some type of payout for it to really work for me.
Sure.
Yeah, I think for me, I genuinely want to like the characters, like even if they're an asshole or they're even evil, like in a show, like I want to like them on some level. And I think that's when there's no kind of like you mentioned, Aaron, a comeuppance or like some sort of release or character growth. It's just like, why do I keep watching this show when the people are not likable? Like I wish on this show that Zach Stone was like, I wish his character on camera character was like super cringe, but it was like something he was doing for the cameras. But you see when he's being serious, when they cut, he's still like, except for those little moments where he's trying to halfway apologize to people, he's like that all the time. Even in the last episode when he's thinking about, he's always been a jerk to Greg. He's like, here's when we were doing this and I lit him on fire for my magic show. Like, it seems like he's always been that way, and therefore I find him not likable. Which I
Good
want
times. That one time I lit you on fire.
Yeah. So I think that's just a personal thing for me. Like, I want to like them even if they're not good people. So I need something to kind of like release or make me feel for them in some way.
Now that we're talking through it, I think what I like so much about this show is that what happens in almost every episode is that Zach tells a lie or an exaggeration or an embellishment and then is immediately called out as lying and then doubles down on the lie to his own detriment and to comedic effect. And watching someone just continue to try to build the track of that lie as the train is going, and then watching that train go down into the ravine is something that I think is really, really funny. But
I can't, like I said, I can't deny that I laughed like throughout the entire thing. It doesn't, it's not like it's what Tony said. I didn't like Zach at the end of the day.
Yeah. He's a real shit. Well, that's about all the notes that I've got. You guys want to get some ratings in?
Absolutely.
Alrighty, I'll go first. I, as I've mentioned, this is a show I enjoy a lot. It's not perfect. It's not a Chernobyl or a Band of Brothers. It doesn't really make me think all that much, but it did make me laugh quite a lot. So this is going to be an 8.5 for me, and I'll make a bold claim. I will say that, in my opinion, this is the best teen sitcom ever made. And I will pass the floor to Tony.
Before I'm gonna have to stand by. I think I'm gonna have to have it be like a 5.5 for me. But I think it's just more of like a personal bias. Like I said, I really do. I like the production. I liked all the actors. I like Bo Burnham as a character. It was just hard for me to get through the cringe on this one. So not really a bad show, but just not for me. So that's why my rating's low.
All right, 5.5 from Tony and Aaron.
So I give a lot of props to Bo Burnham for what I would see as an attempt at some pretty poignant social commentary. At this point, looking back, though, it feels like it kind of falls flat. And again, maybe that's just because it's a little dated now. Didn't really care for the persona, the character. The cringe was rough for me as well. I'm writing at probably about a 4. And if someone's like, I love cringe, I can't get enough, I would like, hey, this is probably the show for you. But otherwise, this is not a show that I would put on my recommend list to people. So yeah, I think I'm sitting at a solid 4. I will say Christy like rode like a 1 through most of it. At one point, there was like a moment where Amy like had like a good moment, and she was like, I've bumped it up to a 2, and then immediately after there, like Zach was horrible, and so she's like, it's back to a 1 throughout the rest of the series.
Wow, knives out from Christy.
It was she viscerally hated Zach. Like she was like, he's such a narcissist. It just makes me hate this person so much. She like Tony said, his friends don't deserve, his family doesn't deserve this, and they're very too quick to just accept his apology without really any change in his behavior.
Yeah, if someone being horrible to their friends and family is your like blood and gore and people getting their heads cut off, like, yeah, I can 100% understand being turned off viscerally by a show like this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we've got let's see, we've got 8.5 from me, we got 5.5 from Tony, and a 4 from Aaron. That gives us an average score of 6. And if you'll give me one moment, I can tell you just about where that falls.
That feels right for me. Like I don't dispute that number.
Eyeballing it. It looks like it's just above The Witcher by a couple of places. So I'd say kind of, bottom of the middle third. It's sandwiched between Mixology above it and the first season of Succession below it.
That's interesting. That's crazy.
Got beat by Mixology. Wow. But the show is not personal. Is really what's most important is that it's about the love of the game, it's about the art, and it's about the brotherhood.
I absolutely had a great time watching this show. Like just because it's a show that I didn't care for at the end of the day doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy the process.
Glad to hear it. Well, shall we turn our attention towards the future, gentlemen?
Onward to the wheel of randomonium.
We've got to off air start harmonizing, get that thing right, and then come in.
We need a soundboard, guys. We'll just all get together and create a couple of soundboard clips.
Pitch triangles. Ding ding. Okay, here.
Okay, so this month we have 3 offerings, obviously. Tony, tell us about Counterpart. What is Counterpart? Oh, it's not Tony. That's Jay. Big. Sorry, I totally messed that up.
I would love to tell you about Counterpart.
Jay, tell us about Counterpart.
I'll take this one. Counterpart is a show from, I think it's 2017, just a few years ago. It stars J.K. Simmons as a Cold War spy in Berlin who discovers that his agency is guarding a portal to a parallel Earth and has to deal with his counterpart. I hear that post-pandemic, the other world looks a lot closer to our current world than 2017 ever could have imagined. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm excited about J.K. Simmons. I think this is a show that I am going to watch Bono style, which is With or Without You. So I'm very excited to see if it will get picked.
A quick question. Is this the one that J.K. Simmons got super buff for?
I don't know. Maybe.
It's probably.
I feel like I saw a picture on the internet of him like mega buff out of nowhere.
Man, I'm excited for that then. I
Tony,
love J.K. Simmons.
You've put back up the Watchmen on HBO, right?
Yes. Part of that is I forgot to think of one, and then part of it is I really wanted to watch it in the past and I never did. And I know it was a loser on the wheel of randomonium, so being selfish and giving it another shot.
No, I'm right there with you with my offering. Letterkenny is back on the wheel. I really, it's another one of those shows that I feel like is underappreciated, and especially since Jay enjoys some of the white trash humor like I do. I think that he'll enjoy it. So these are our offerings for this wheel of randomonium. So let us first shuffle.
I'm very excited about all 3 of these.
Man, to win. Me too. I'm very excited. Oh, that was close. This is a nail biter. All right.
Well, I never saw the wheel, so can somebody tell me what we're doing?
Yeah, mine. I had clocked my phone, so I missed the wheel.
Well, okay.
I won.
I hope. Yeah, Watchmen won. I hope that it says that it's sharing. So I'm sorry that you guys didn't see it.
I just forgot to have my phone out to be watching.
Well, yes, Watchmen won.
Hey, Watchmen already. I'm excited.
I think this will be probably about as far away as Zack Stone's going to be famous. Probably a very serious, kind of darker, grittier, kind of semi superhero movie, or not movie, television series.
Have we talked about this? Did you guys see that they're rebooting Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and making it a gritty reboot?
Yeah, I have seen that.
Oh, I didn't know it was gritty. I saw they were rebooting it.
I heard it's like a gritty reboot. Like it's going to be more serious, not so whimsical.
The trailer definitely makes it look more dramatic.
It's going to be like The Wire of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, because in the trailer they're like, "Oh, there's a secret about the reason why you're really here," and then it flashes to like gang violence.
Okay. Oh, dang.
Yeah. So Looking forward to that on Peacock.
I love gritty reboots. They're the best.
Oh, I can't recommend it, but if you like the MacGruber movie, the MacGruber TV show's on Peacock, and it's more of the same. So if you liked it,
Okay.
I think you'll like it. If you hated it, I think you'll hate it. So.
It's more of Reese Witherspoon's husband shoving a celery stalk up his ass and waddling around.
Is Will Forte married to Reese Witherspoon?
No. It was Ryan Felipe or whatever.
Oh yeah,
I don't think they are anymore. I don't think they're married anymore. But that's the one thing I remember from the MacGruber movie is like this very serious actor I've seen in many serious movies shoving a celery stalk up his ass and waddling around. Like I remember sitting in the theater, like falling out of my chair laughing, like to the sequence. I was like, "What has happened to the world that Ryan Felipe is doing this on the screen?"
Ever since I saw there was going to be a MacGruber TV show, I was like, it's only a matter of time before Aaron submits this for the wheel.
I didn't even know that it was a thing that can be submitted for the wheel, so it may be coming.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Tony. Thank you.
You're welcome. No problem.
Christy will not be happy about this. This is not.
So I thought I'd bring up MacGruber in the same, breath.
Christy will not be thanking you on that one, Tony.
Well, I am very much looking forward to next month and watching Watchmen. Be looking for our new episode first of next month. Watch along with Watchmen with us. Very excited about that. Sorry to all the callers on the phone lines. We did not get to you today. Maybe next time. Big thanks to our executive producer, Dick Wolf, and we'll be seeing you guys next time.
Dun, 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 dun.